In this episode 93 of the Daily Hustle, we talk about how success is no accident. We reference Pele and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart and more from Mark Cuban in episode 93.
Broadcasting from the box that rocks and Thrive15.com world headquarters, it's the Daily Hustle with Daniel McKenna.
What is going on? Welcome back into the box that rocks. This is episode 93 of the Daily Hustle Show. Over to my left, Marshall F. Morris. Over here, Daniel McKenna. We are talking today about how to win at the sport of business. Marshall, it is Mark Cuban week here for the Daily Hustle Show. We've been talking about this all week long. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing spectacular, and Mark Cuban, he's not a business coach, but he is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, which is, I don't know if that's cooler than a business coach, but regardless, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a toss-up of what's a better job, a better like career sort of thing, better thing to be doing, whether being a business coach like you do and like several other people here in the building here at Thrive 15 are, they're business coaches, the best business coaches here in the world, or, owning the Dallas Mavericks. It's hard. It's
I enjoy helping my business clients as a business coach. I love being a business coach, but it'd also be pretty cool to own the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a toss-up. Yeah. It's a toss-up. This is episode 93. So Marshall, I wanted to give you some facts about 93, but I did not find anything interesting about 93.
Oh, 93, you couldn't find any cool facts about 93.
Nope.
Really?
Couldn't find any interesting.
For all of the other numbers, you could find something interesting.
Yeah, a lot of them had really good stuff.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of them didn't.
It's debatable.
Okay.
Sam liked them every time.
Those 93 must have been really not interesting.
There was nothing I saw for 93 that I was like,
if you divide 93 by 3, you get 31.
yeah, but that's not good.
What?
No.
Yeah.
You have not been paying attention to my amazing facts if you think that's a passable fact.
Oh, okay. All right.
But 93 was both worn by two of the greatest NFL players of all time. Happened to both be Minnesota Vikings, John Randall and Kevin Williams. John Randall, 7-time Pro Bowl selection, 1990s All-Decade Team, 137.5 sacks. Kevin Williams, 6-time Pro Bowl selection, 2000s All-Decade Team, 366 sacks. So, they both had great careers for the Minnesota Vikings wearing 93.
In 1993, top of the year, number 1 on the Billboard chart, top 100, 93. Mm-hmm. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You.
That's not a good fact.
Oh my God.
You're not very good at this.
Oh God.
Okay, let's go ahead and dive into this here. We're picking back up on the Mark Cuban story. Where we left off, he had $85,000 in the bank after working on his new business for 2 years, Micro Solutions computer company, and their secretary just stole $83,000 of it. Doesn't leave a whole lot left. Let's pick back up here and his mindset of what he's dealing with. He says, I would continually search for new ideas. I read every book and magazine I could. $3 for a magazine, $20 for a book. One good idea would lead to a customer or a solution, and those magazines and books paid for themselves many times over. Some of the ideas were good, some not so good. But in doing all of this reading, I learned a valuable lesson. You know what the lesson is here, Marshall?
Well, I'm curious to know what the lesson is.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Here's a lesson. He says, everything I read was public. Anyone could buy the same books and magazines. The same information was available to anyone who wanted it. Turns out most people just didn't want it. He remembers going into meetings, talking to people in the industry, talking about software or hardware, features, bugs, that sort of stuff, things that he had read about, right? Just knowledge he had picked up, industry type stuff that he read. He expected people to be like, oh, yeah, I read that too in this magazine or that book. But that's not what happened. They hadn't read it then, and they still haven't started reading it. Most people won't put in the time to get a knowledge advantage. Sure, there were folks that worked hard at picking up every bit of information that they could, but we were few and far between. To this day, I feel like if I put in enough time consuming all of the information available, particularly with the internet making it so easy to get to, so readily accessible, he can gain an advantage in any technology business. Of course, he says, my wife hates that I read more than 3 hours almost every day. More than 3 hours. He's a multi-billionaire. He's reading 3 hours a day. But this gives me a level of comfort and confidence in my business. At Micro Solutions, his business then, it gave me a huge advantage. A guy with a minimal computer background could compete with far more experienced guys just because he had put in the time to learn all he could. Marshall, you are a business coach. Business coaching is what you do. You work with several different small business owners, entrepreneurs. Talk about this. Where does this relate to the average small business owner, the average entrepreneur? Mark Cuban just said, I learned that all this information anybody could get to. The internet made it easily accessible. This wasn't like secret information that I was gathering. This was stuff that I could get to, that you could get to, that Sam could get to. But it turns out I was the only one that wanted it. I was the only one that was going out there to get this information, and it gave me that edge. It gave me the advantage. Talk about that here.
As a business coach, one of the quotes that I like to use is from Thomas Edison. He says, vision without execution is hallucination. Vision without execution is hallucination.
Go on.
Okay. So what that means is that if we talked about in the previous episode is becoming a lifelong learner and doing ongoing education, but that's just the start. You got to actually do something with it. Otherwise, you are investing a ton of money into learning, but it's not making you any better. If you don't apply what you're learning, if you just go and acquire a ton of new knowledge, then what's the point? Knowledge without application is meaningless. So what you must do is you must learn, but then use that knowledge to acquire more customers and become better at your job and to figure out new solutions and continually be updating your systems and processes. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to spend $10 here and $20 here and $30 here and $100 a month on this thing, and you're never going to get any better. So as a business coach, we encourage business clients to go ahead and do that lifelong learning, spending time every single day learning, but then at the same time, you've also got to apply what it is that you are learning.
This is a guy with all the money that he ever needs, right? He's already running companies. He already has multiple businesses, and he's spending 3 hours a day trying to gain that edge.
That's right.
Trying to gain that edge. And like he said, all those ideas he was getting back in the day would lead to a new customer or lead to a new solution.
Right.
He used that knowledge.
Right.
But he put in the time daily to gain the knowledge so then he could have something to do with it, right?
Right.
Pele. Do you know who Pele is, Marshall?
Is it like a type of food?
It is not.
Okay.
Well, maybe it is.
Okay.
That I haven't heard of. But he was one of the greatest soccer players of all time from Brazil.
Oh, really?
He says, success is no accident. It is a hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do.
Wow.
But I mean, that's just Pele. That's just soccer. That's just Pele. We'll talk about here's something more relevant. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson.
The Rock.
The Rock.
You know who Dwayne Johnson is?
Educate me.
He looks slightly Hawaiian. I think he's slightly Hawaiian, but he is the giant man that you'll see on your movie screens. He's one of the biggest action stars out right now.
Okay.
Making, I don't know how much money he makes every year, but he is the industry's workaholic. He's in so many big movies as the leading guy because he's that huge dude. He's a funny guy. He's engaging. He's an action star. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson used to be a WWF wrestler.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's big.
He's a big guy. He says, success isn't always about greatness. It's about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success. Greatness will come. He's saying just be consistent about putting in the work. And greatness will come. I heard about some of his regimen, and it's ridiculous. He gets up at 4 a.m. in the morning
Okay.
to run an hour of cardio,
Oh, wow.
and then he'll eat some breakfast, and then he'll go work out for an hour and a half.
He's in good shape. He doesn't need a business coach to wake him up in the morning.
He does not need a business coach to wake him up in the morning.
That's hot.
If you want to hire Sam to wake you up in the morning, just give us a call.
Okay.
He'll give you some chicken shakes, too. Lou Holtz. You know who Lou Holtz is, Marshall?
Educate me.
He's one of the only dudes to lead multiple college teams to the national championship game.
Okay.
Most known for his team at Notre Dame. Maybe you see him now. I believe he still has a TV job calling or commenting on college football. He's just a brilliant mind in college football. One of the greatest coaches of all time. Says winners embrace hard work. They love the discipline of it. The trade-off they're making to win. Losers, on the other hand, see it as a punishment, and that's the difference. This is a dude that had multiple champion teams. He said the difference between the winners and the winners are the people that embrace that suck you talked about. They embrace that hard work. They love the discipline. They see the trade-off that they're making. And losers see it as punishment. Losers see it as, oh, man, I have to do this. I got to get up early. I got to put in the time. Winners see it as like, yeah, this sucks. I get to do it because I'm going to win. And last one, just in case, you know, let's say Pele and Dwayne Johnson and Lou Holtz, and it's not dynamic enough. There's not enough industries we're talking about. Because we're talking about success principles that anybody can take from, right? And maybe we haven't hit your niche yet. So you're like, bah, none of that matters to me. We haven't hit my niche. Well, let's go into famous stand-up comedian / actor Kevin Hart. You know who Kevin Hart is, Marshall?
Is he that really tall guy?
No.
Oh, okay.
I believe Kevin Hart is like 5'4".
Oh.
He is very small.
Small guy.
Also a dude who's in multiple movies.
Is he a business coach?
He is not a business coach that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Also a dude who built himself up as one of the premier entertainers that we have right now. Tons of movies, stand-up comedian. You'll see him at the NBA All-Star Game playing in the celebrity game. He somehow wins the MVP every year. This like 5'4" dude. He says, everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to do the work. I live by that. You grind hard so you can play hard. At the end of the day, you put all the work in, and eventually it'll pay off. It could be in a year. It could be in 30 years. Eventually, your hard work will pay off. Marshall, we've heard from Mark Cuban and Pele and Dwayne Johnson and Lou Holtz and Kevin Hart. And they're all saying in about the exact same thing.
That's right.
It's not that you are about greatness. Like, success isn't about greatness. It's about putting in that consistent hard work, that consistent drive to get that edge, and then greatness will eventually come if you're consistently doing it. As the business coach that you are, the business coaching that you do, for the people out there that are, they're not where they want to be in their business. Maybe they've been at it for a year. Maybe they've been at it for 5 years. Maybe they've been at it for 10 years. They're not where they want to be yet. What if this speaks to them? What if this speaks to you? What stands out about, we just heard from 5 different people who are some of the greatest at their craft. What sticks out to you?
So I have a client right now that is actually working through his business, and he's trying to get it going. He's been trying to get it going for about 6 months now. Okay. He's been building it, and he goes, man, I've just been working crazy hard to get this off the ground. And sometimes it feels like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall. I go, yeah. Get ready for a few more years of that. and we laugh, but that's the reality is, you know, for some people it's a couple years, some people it's 10 years, okay? You look at a company like Facebook, and after a long period, 2 years of development, they recorded a multi-million-dollar loss. And so if you work really hard for several years and then you get to a good place in the business where it's launched and you got a ton of users, you might have the fortunate ability to record a multi-million-dollar loss. Loss, as in you lost money. So with that being said, just because you're working hard and you're in the trenches and you feel like you're not getting to the place that you need to be, the success that you want to have in the business, there's a couple things here. One, you got to have the hard work, okay? You got to just start, and that starting shows up as hard work. And then the second thing is you got to make sure that your hard work is in the right direction. And so if you don't know if you're going in the right direction with your business, then you probably need a business coach or somebody that's actually done what you're trying to do before. A business coach will actually tell you, spend your time here, don't spend your time here. This is what you should be doing. This is what you should not be doing. But the reality is that there's a lot of people that, A, don't want to work hard, okay? Nobody that's watching this or listening to this is one of those people. But there may be some people that are like, I'm not super confident that this is the right move that I should be making in my business. And both principles are necessary. And what all of these quotes are saying is that greatness will come. Everybody wants to be famous. It could be in 30 years, but eventually the hard work's going to pay off. It's going to come. It's going to pay off. And just because you don't see it now doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
I love it.
It's hot.
And I love how different people from different industries who maybe know each other or don't know each other are all saying about the same thing, about how are you so successful? How did you get here? Well, it's about success. It's about persistence. It's about consistently putting in that hard work.
That's right.
And eventually you get there.
Oh, yeah.
More stuff from Mark Cuban's book here. There's a couple of hilarious stories, including how he used to, he's always reading. He notices this one ad in this periodical, starts buying from these ads, buying hard drives from a kid in Austin, Texas. Some kid in Austin, Texas. Turns out that kid's Michael Dell, of Dell Computers. So that's pretty hilarious. Also, he has this story about how, once he's made a ton of money, he's at this big party, and how Bill Gates stole his girls. Also a hilarious story. So if you have not read this book, worth reading. Let's jump back into here the Mark Cuban story and how to win at the sport of business. He says, at that point in time, software was expensive. WordPerfect and Lotus 123 both sold for $495. In order to be able to sell this, you had to go to special training to become authorized. I literally was not allowed to sell a single copy of Lotus until I passed their training class for the product. WordPerfect, a word processing software, wasn't quite as bad, but it had its own idiosyncrasies as well. Meanwhile, Microsoft was on the outside looking in. Excel, Word, and PowerPoint were all far down the list of top sellers until lightning struck. Microsoft, this is Bill Gates. Remember Bill Gates?
Yeah, I remember.
Do you know who Bill Gates is, Marshall?
Yeah, Bill Gates.
Okay.
He has some money.
He has some money. Bill Gates, Microsoft, decided to go against industry protocol and package these three programs as a suite, offering them as an upgrade to competitors' products for the low price of $99. Whoa. That's is $99 very much cheaper than $499, Marshall?
Yeah, it's about 20% of the cost.
Does that math check out?
Math checks out.
Math checks out. Okay. Of course, you needed to have and use Windows for it to work. But at the time, when people were buying new PCs with every dramatic increase in power and decrease in price, It was a natural move for us at Micro Solutions to sell the bundle. It made the effective price of the PC and software together far, far lower. It also taught me several big lessons.
Ooh, Dan, I need you to play the role of the business coach here and give me the lessons.
I was going to do it anyway, but now that you've asked, I will do it with enthusiasm and vigor.
The people want the business coach voice from you.
Oh, there's a voice for it.
Yeah, to teach the lessons. It's a little bit like this. It's like lesson 1.
Oh, wow. So like audiobook.
Kind of.
Okay.
But like in an entertaining audiobook.
Entertaining audiobook.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Oren Klaff audiobook.
I don't know how. Okay. So this is what Mark Cuban learned from this.
It's like if Mark Cuban narrated a audiobook as a business coach.
Okay.
Think
okay.
Mark Cuban business coach. Okay, lesson number 1.
Okay. Lesson number 1. Always ask yourself how someone could preempt your products or service. I'm going to ruin the point if I keep talking like that.
I thought your natural state was Mark Cuban is a business coach, and the fact that you went away from that was a bit worrisome to me.
I'll just read it how I know how to read.
Well, you kind of sound like Mark Cuban as a business coach.
Okay, well, in that case, then that's good.
Okay.
Okay, lesson number 1. Always ask yourself how someone could preempt your products or service.
Perfect.
How can oh, thank you. Thank you so much. How can they put you out of business? Is it price? Is it service? Is it ease of use? No product is perfect, and if there are good competitors in your market, they'll figure out how to abuse you. It's always better if you're honest with yourself and anticipate where the problems will come from.
That's hot.
We'll talk about that here in a second here, Marshall. That was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 here. Always run your business like you're going to be competing with the biggest technology companies in your industry. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, whatever. They may not be your direct competitors. They might be a vendor. They might be a competitor and a vendor. Whatever they are to your business, if you are in the business, the technology business, in any way, shape, or form, you have to anticipate that you will have to compete with one of them at some point. I ask myself every week what I would do if they entered any one of my businesses. If you're ready to compete with the big guys, you are ready to compete with anyone else. So Marshall, Microsoft comes in here and changes the game. They throw the industry on its head. They change the game. We talk about all the time about being a purple cow, either offering something or branding something in a way that is different than the current game, different and it's going to stick out, right? Microsoft did that. We talk about knowing your customers, but we don't talk about this side of it often, about figuring out how someone could put you out of business, right? We typically talk about it in a way of like, how can we get more business, and not how can somebody abuse us and take our business. We did talk about day 2 thinking, the whole Amazon episode series. Go back and listen to that if you have not listened to that. Mark Cuban talks about honestly assessing how someone can take your cheese, can just take your money, right? Talk about this from a business coach perspective, not as a Mark Cuban business coach, but as a Marshall Morris business coach here. We typically talk about know your customers. Who can you go out and get? How can you add people to your fold? How can you add money into what you're doing? Mark Cuban's also saying, hey, by the way, also be honest with yourself and know where you are vulnerable. Know where people can start taking your cheese. Talk about that from your standpoint.
Well, you always have... A lot of this stems from the ongoing learning. So as you're ongoing learning about your industry and learning about the market and learning about the new adaptabilities of products and services, you're going to realize this is how somebody could encroach upon my business. But I think a lot of business owners, okay, might fall into the trap of not setting aside time weekly to work on their business and not setting aside time weekly to do ongoing learning. And so then they get blindsided by a truck, okay, and they no longer have the ability to stay competitive in the market. Because for a long time, everybody's trying to beat you, okay? Everybody's trying to take all of your business. not in a way that they hate you, but they're trying to do the exact same thing. They're trying to provide for themselves, provide for their families. And so what you have to do is you got to set aside time to work on your business. You got to set aside time to be continuously learning, okay? And over time, that makes you more nimble, more agile, more quick on your feet, more adaptable to the ever-changing market and growth. And so small businesses, this is one of their biggest assets, is because they don't have to form committees. They don't have to go through a long decision-making process. They can just be, they can just make the change that needs to happen. And so this is one of the most important things that you take away from this is, what is it right now that not necessarily can I be doing to defend against that, but what can I be doing on the offense to continuously be making my business more competitive?
And for the people at home, I think it's worth knowing. Once you get to a point where you matter a little bit in your industry, right? Once you're actually making a little bit of money, it's probably going to be good for you to know who your main competitors are.
Right.
And not only like who your main competitors are, but like what is it you're selling. So taxis sold rides, right? It's a taxi company. But what they were selling was convenience. They're giving you the convenience of getting from here to there. You don't have to walk. You don't have to ride your bike. You don't have to have your own car there. They're selling convenience.
Right.
Right? Well, then Uber came in and made those rides more convenient. Now you don't have to go stand on a corner and hope to flag somebody down or call a cab service. You just pull it up on your phone. Doot, doot, doot. Some dude comes and picks up you specifically.
Right.
It made the convenient part more convenient, and they started disrupting the whole taxi industry, right? Multi-billion-dollar business.
Right.
So what can competitors do to hurt your business? What is it that you are selling that maybe you might leave yourself vulnerable on somewhere that competitors, if competitors could get the price 10% cheaper than us, then we would lose all of our customers. Or if competitors could offer this additional service on top of what we would do, we would slowly start to lose market share. Where are you vulnerable that you can make your business building that fort, that moat around your business to where your competitors stick with just you so that you can stay on the attack of getting more, adding more to your kingdom as opposed to getting attacked from the back door, leaving yourself vulnerable, not really ever putting the time, like Marshall said, working on the business to make yourself that fortress.
Right.
Well, there you go. That was episode 93 here, Marshall. Episode 93 of The Daily Hustle. In the next episode, which, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, was episode 94.
Couldn't have ever guessed.
Yeah, that's what's coming up next. We're going to continue this story. It's the Mark Cuban week. We're going to continue this story and how that relates to you and your business. But that is it for episode 93. Over there to my left, Marshall F. Morris. Over here, Daniel McKenna. This has been The Daily Hustle. We'll see you next time on episode 94. Boom!